Is this practice a good deal? Or is this a good practice that I'm going to? Most buyers, sellers, and people looking to start at a different practice look at the practice, they look at collection numbers or a broker packet, and then they go with their gut. And that's exactly how you overpay, inherit someone else's problems, or pass on a great deal because it felt off. And you don't need more opinions, you just need a scorecard. You need to know, without having to pay thousands of dollars, how to evaluate a practice. And that's exactly what the practice score calculator does for you. It's below in the description. Click on it. You can head there right now, and it's free. So what this tool does is it grades the health, risk, and price and splits that out over a couple different scores. Okay? So each practice, these are some real numbers that you can see on the screen from a practice that I'm associated with. It gives you a practice score and it gives you a grade. It tells you how healthy your practice is. It also gives you a practice value estimate after doing some improvements. And then it also tells you how much you could expect to take home before loan payments and stuff like that if you were the owner operator of that office versus an absentee owner. Okay. And then it gives you areas for improvement of what you could do to improve your practice. All right. Now, this is a wonderful exercise if you're looking to buy or sell your practice or evaluate a practice you're looking to move to as an associate. And overall, a wonderful exercise if you're just wanting to know, is my practice in a healthy spot? And what do I need to change? Could potentially replace some consultants at a surface level to get you going, which is fantastic. Now, we're going to break this down on what really goes into this and what you can kind of expect from this calculator. So what the practice score calculator measures, and it measures several different categories. Okay, it measures our financials, our operatory production, patient mix, hygiene percentage, and measures also the what percent of your practice is fee for service versus Medicaid, lease, and your equipment age. All things that are evaluated in a sale. There are more things that are evaluated in a sale if you're really going through it. But the problem is that it's like near impossible to take every aspect that a practice can be multiplied on and bake it into a calculator. So is this calculator perfect? Heavens no, it's not perfect. But it is something that can get you in the ballpark of what you need to do. And this calculator is primarily based off of cash flow. Does your practice cash flow? So if your practice isn't cash flowing and you're in a wonderful location off the busiest street corner in your town, it's probably going to tell you that your practice is awful. And that's more than likely not true. But we believe that at Bonded that cash flow in a business sense is going to be the most important thing, because as a business owner or someone coming to be a high producer in an office, cash flow is important, especially with rising tuition costs and rising costs in general. So having a cash flowing asset that is your practice is critical. Okay, so what we typically measure in this practice score is cash flow, your revenue quality, your payroll and overhead as a percentage of your collections, your hygiene engine if you have hygiene in your office, your capacity for growth, and your concentration risk. And one thing I'm going to make a note about concentration risk here is if the seller is doing 80 to 100% of the production, that's a problem, because is that going to be replicatable to a new provider or a new owner and so on if you have a super dentist in there. Okay, and so a couple things to measure is a great practice is anywhere between that 80 to 85 to 100. That's a great practice where you're probably going to pay full price if you're buying that practice, or that's an excellent practice to go to work at as an associate. If you're in a practice that's a kind of in the B range, and I would even include 70 down to 84, up to 84, excuse me. That's good with a few fixable issues that can be made. And that's probably a pretty solid practice to go to. And a score of 55 to 69, I would only get that practice at a discount. There's a lot of things that need to change. And then a practice that's a D or below a score of 55, I'd probably pass on that practice. Okay? So how do you use it? Grab the last couple years' tax returns, ask for it from your employer, ask from it from the broker, and plug the average of those numbers in and get your outputs, get your practice score, any red flags, things like that, and then decide if it's worth it for you. If you have a practice in the A-B range, you're probably going to pay around that full price. And we've tested this calculator, and is it perfect once again? No. But it will get you very close. If you have a practice that's in that C range of anywhere between like 55 to 69, it's going to give you a score of a D really there. But if you're in that range, I'd probably only get that price at a discounted price or have those problems really fixed or know how to fix those problems. And then a score below a 55, you're just going to want to totally pass on that office. Okay. Now, one caveat I would like to add with this is, once again, this calculator cannot bake in all different factors. Okay. If it's a specialty office, your score is likely deflated because this is calculating in hygiene for a lot of things. Your practice is probably worth more even though you don't have hygiene because you're a specialty office, okay? It also could be worth less because it's harder to sell like a root canal specialist office, which is solely based off referrals, you know? So less value there for a specialty office. Also, if you're a solely fee-for-service practice, this calculator is going to give you a number that's absolutely through the roof. Which isn't accurate. And because we know that fee-for-service offices in a practice transaction lose up to 55 to up to even 75% of your patient base because they're loyal to the doctor, okay, not because it's a transaction. So a fee-for-service office is going to have a much higher practice score and give you a much higher practice value than what it actually probably commands. And same with the Medicaid office. This calculator is not perfect with calculating Medicaid offices. It will give you a much, much lower score if you are a Medicaid-heavy office. However, Medicaid-heavy offices are wonderful. It was just hard to bake into this calculator. So understand that it has flaws. It's not perfect, but it can give you a general sense of how you are doing as a practice. But once again, it goes back to the overall overarching thing that cash flow in a practice transaction is king. So if you're an associate looking to buy or sell a practice, or if you're a seasoned buyer and seller of practices, or you're looking to transition to a new office to work there, run the practice scorecard first. That way you don't get hypnotized by a pretty listing, and know exactly where the practice is strong, where it's weak, and what things that practice could do better at. And that way you can know, as you do your due diligence, what you need to do. Now, if you want access to more calculators like this and a free place where you can go and find places to potentially work or buy and sell practices, we encourage you to download the Bonded Dental app on the App Store or the Google Play Store. And you can also check out our website, which is linked in the description below.